SREDILSKCaB, Chapter 7. You live and you learn, and then with wisdom, according to knowledge, you live again. Vermita's mother held her daughter close to her chest as she shuddered and cried herself to sleep. Mrs. Mason had three girls and three boys, to which Vermita was the baby and the last to marry. She'd been a God fearing young lady since her first vacation Bible school at 12 years of age and had always believed him for everything. She'd met Johnny Bo Jr. at a Heat game that she attended with her eldest brother, Taco. It was his usual monthly ritual to escort her to various functions so that he could, as he put it, protect her from being rushed by the opposite persuasion. She knew that his main purpose was to intimidate those who tried. Since he'd always insisted that she was too green to be alone, she consented, mainly because Taco was very popular. His reasons weren't unfounded either because Vermita was still a virgin at 20, stemming from a promise she'd made to God after receiving salvation. Her beauty was flawless and not to be compared to any other. She was petite with honey brown skin and had long, shiny, black, wavy hair that many people deemed good hair, and had large, round, hazel eyes, a tiny nose, and medium, dark, rosy lips. Most people weren't drawn to her simply because of her loveliness, but her ability to love anyone despite their situation. For example, everyone expected her to become a cheerleader, as most pretty girls did, but she was more interested in going to shelters and feeding the homeless, or the home for the elderly to be a companion. Due to her being tied up with her altruistic ventures, she was left out of the loop of the other girls in high school. On the other hand, because of her benevolent ways, she didn't get involved in the squabbles over boyfriends as most girls her age had. Later, these same attributes afforded her the opportunity to attend one of the nation's finest black colleges on a full scholarship. Being one of the beautiful Masons wasn't all bad either, as she followed in the footsteps of her brothers and sisters' reputation for not only looking good, but coupling that with doing good. So it wasn't as if high school boys didn't notice her. On the contrary, they hit on her constantly, but she was determined to wait on God for Him to reveal her husband to her. The first time she saw Johnny Bo Jr., she knew it was he. As most men would agree, Johnny Bo Jr. loved his mom with all his heart, and God knows his dad would never cheat on his mother, so what was wrong with him? Was it possible for him to change? Better yet, could he go back to God after 8 years of loose living while away from home? He'd often wondered if there were any women left that he hadn't been with, or one that would accept someone like him, a whoremonger. That's why he found himself at a Heat game alone on purpose, especially since all the women he'd met virtually hated sports or completely ignorant to the game, so that he could seriously think about where he was going. When Johnny Bo Jr. entered the Miami arena, all eyes were on him, as usual. He stood 6'8" and possessed the body of the wrestling sensation The Rock, clad with curly black hair, smooth brown skin, and bold legs. God had blessed him with brains, body, and beauty. which caused women of the day to advance upon him constantly. So even though this was normal for him, somehow he was not as intrigued by the women onlookers hooting, hollering, and some even whistling for his attention. Hey, Black, is that you? Or did you get that butt and a six pack from Brothers Extreme Makeover? They cajoled. He did his customary nod and shook his head at how time had changed because fellas no longer had to make a play or come up with the hip lines. Basically, all they had to do was show up and act like they had a little going on. And sisters would swarm them like flies on a watermelon rind. It was crucial. He couldn't grasp hold or quite detect what was going on in the atmosphere. But there was something different about his whole persona tonight. Perhaps he was just growing up, he surmised as he strolled toward the section and row where his seat was located. This was indeed a moment in history because he spotted the most exquisite creature he'd ever laid eyes on, and he had seen quite a few honeys in his day. He was so captivated by the sight of the fine, feminine specimen that he literally fell for her. Since he was not watching his step, he tripped and fell on his knee. Usually, this would be the place where he'd use his masculine charm to manipulate the circumstance for his good. But his conscience told him that this woman was out of his league. After dusting off his pant leg, he wiped the sweat off his brow and noticed that she was smiling, which might have been a good sign. That was until he noticed that she was seated next to his former college basketball teammate, Taco Mason, whom they deemed the preacher. What's up, man? Taco yelled as he noticed his old college friend approaching the bleachers where he and Vermita were seated. He couldn't help but wonder how this stand up guy could end up here with this lovely lady devoid the missus. He also noticed, along with this fact, that this brother was always full of joy, no matter when or where you approached him, Johnny Bo Jr. thought. As they did the traditional male shoulder to shoulder bond with the traditional dap, he glanced over his friend's shoulder at a piece of heaven. She was cool, though. She didn't even flinch. It was funny. He'd always gone for the healthy type girls with weave, nails, glitz, and glamour. There was something different about the little princess. Her hair was wavy and pulled back in one long, silky brown ponytail. Her lips were adorned with lipstick the color of her skin, which was caramel. She wore jeans that fit her petite figure like a glove. And when the Miami Heat scored, he noticed she stood 5'2". Most of all, she loves sports. Suddenly, a thought popped into his head, and he had to catch his breath. She is the one. All he could think of, though, is how in the world could he clean up his life in order to pull this one off? Lord, if you're up there, of course you're up there. I mean, Lord, I know you're up there. And, well, I think I found the bone of my bone and I want to come home. Please clean me up. Forgive my past sinful behavior, Lord. I've got to have her. I'm all right, man. Couldn't be doing any better. How's your wife these days? He asked, trying to elicit a response from either of them, hoping they'd think he was just being cordial, when inside his heart, his fingers were crossed, hoping for the right answer. Man, she's doing fine. We're still trying to get pregnant. But other than that, she's perfect as always. You know, Genoa was voted Harlem Hill's Miss Congeniality, and she remains the same. She's still doing her usual benevolence, making sure that everyone else is taken care of. That's one of the reasons I married her, besides her love for the Lord, which you know was my main interest. Never mind that, though. I haven't seen you in years. So tell me, who is the woman that has captured the heart of Mr. Basketball? You mean besides the one that jumped out of my dreams and is sitting by your side? Johnny Bolt Jr. thought. Of course, Taco teasingly elbowed Johnny Bolt Jr.'s rib cage. He was alluding to the infamous past and reputation Johnny Bolt Jr. had obtained as a player and ladies' man while at Harlem Hill U. He got in trouble at first, mostly just for looking good and for being so talented, which made him a virtual babe magnet. He'd gone there a virgin, saved at the age of 12, but left his alma mater as a sinner, having sown his royal oats and then some. He'd met Taco in their freshman year at a Bible study club meeting. Taco was a seasoned Christian who never wavered from the faith, and they become good friends. From that point on, he had served as his confidant and counselor and kept him and many brothers on track. Well, at least he tried to the best of his ability. Ultimately, even though Taco tried his best to administer the truth, Johnny Bo Jr. left the faith. Mainly because he traveled so far from the truth with the life he'd come to live that he was ashamed to face God. Johnny Bo Jr. felt himself getting tense at the thought of the petite princess hearing a snippet of his sordid past. It then dawned on him that he better come clean before his old chum did. Well, first, I think it'd only be appropriate if you'd introduce me to your acquaintance before I divulge my most guarded secrets before her, Johnny Bo Jr. said, taking off his hat and bowing, hoping to denote chivalry. Man, you still the charmer as always. I see that hasn't changed much. This is my precious baby sister, Vermita Mason, Taco offered. You mean to tell me there's someone in your family more beautiful than your sister Sanita, who the brothers nicknamed Sweetness after she visited that year? Man, all I have to say is you are dead wrong to keep a secret from your homeboy, especially one that's as blessed as Miss Vermita, Johnny Bo Jr. said, feigning sadness. Vermita waved her fingers toward him like a southern belle and barely whispered, "Hello," and turned her attention back to the game. Never had any woman responded to him in such a manner, and he was so enamored that he barely heard his friend talking. Well, man, are you married or not? Quit stalling. Inquiring minds want to know, Taco insisted. Nah, man, I haven't had the time for anyone these days, Johnny Bo Jr. replied. You mean Mr. Basketball has hung up his hoop? Taco further joked. Even though his friend meant no harm, he didn't like the picture that was being painted of him from his past, and he desperately wanted to change the subject. It was as if Taco had read his mind. Hey, whatever happened to your little sister Zabira? Taco asked. One spring break, she'd come up to visit Johnny Bo Jr., and he invited her to sit in on their Bible study club meeting. All of the upperclassmen were impressed by her revelatory knowledge of the word. Taco had said that she was quite a young lady and an awesome prayer warrior, but the prophetic word she spoke into most their lives touched them the most. She's still living with the parents and finishing up her bachelor's in Christian education. Most of all, she's always praying to the Lord and doing ministry work, which of course is her passion. This is a heck of a coincidence because our little sister here has a heart for God too. Wouldn't it be something if the two of them could meet? Taco insisted. Yeah, but I got to get back to you though. I still can't understand how I told you all about me back then and you kept little bits existence all to yourself. I think you got some splaining to do, Johnny Bo Jr. exclaimed in his broken Spanish accent. Taco and Johnny Bo Jr. smiled and stepped off to the side to arrange a picnic between the four of them for the future. Chapter 8. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, telling Martha not to moan.